Tomb Raider is the latest iteration of Lara Croft on the big screen. This is an adaptation of a video game that came out in 2013. I absolutely loved it. That is the best iteration of Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, in my opinion. If you guys haven't played that video game, definitely check it out. I have not played Rise of Tomb Raider, but I probably should, because it was just announced a couple days ago that a new Tomb Raider game is coming out this year. It's called Shadow of Tomb Raider. I'm very excited for that as well. And yeah, let's talk about the movie that came out. So I was excited for this, and at the same time, I wasn't really excited because of the reputation that video game movies have. After Assassin's Creed, I lost all hope. I've been meaning to do an analysis video for some time now on how the industry can change video game movies because they've been done very poorly. Like, that's a fact. But with this, there was actually some care in it. I really appreciated the amount of care that was put in this film, and there are actual callbacks from the original video game that are in this film, like where she is climbing on things and she has to go across a broken plane, and the weaponry, we'll get into that later. There's some positives and negatives of the weaponry, but overall everything is there. I was honestly really surprised, and what I really liked about it too was Alicia Vikander. I think she was great as Lara Croft. They are definitely adapting the 2013 version of Lara Croft. This is not a sexualized Lara Croft. This is more on the lines of what we saw in that 2013 reboot, where we see her as a human being. Like in this movie, it showcases that she does not own a company yet. She is not a millionaire, billionaire, whatever. She's a person. She's trying to get by. She is poor. And that is something that I really appreciate about this film, is that they added more stuff for us as an audience to relate to Lara Croft. This is her beginning as Tomb Raider. This is like showcasing what it was like before she actually became a raider of tombs. That was stupid. I'm sorry. And you see through this film, she's still really young. She doesn't have a lot of experience, and there's some naivety. There's that portion of her that's very unexperienced, and once she goes out to this island to find her father, she gets hurt. She gets shot at. There are things in this film that happen to her where if this happens to people in real life, they would die. And this film showcases what happened to her and what led up to the events of her becoming this adventurer, this treasure hunter. And you can tell from this film, this is from a director that has played video games. There's a lot of callbacks from the original 2013 game, and I really appreciated that. That means he probably played those games, or at least saw some clips, I don't know. It felt very faithful. And you also see in this film that he's also maybe played a lot of other video games. When she goes to this pawn shop, she sees like a Wii and a PlayStation in the background. And also her friend at the boxing ring has like a Mass Effect jacket, I want to say. It looked a lot like a Mass Effect jacket. I'm not saying those little hints give him credibility. I mean, anybody could just put like a Wii and a PlayStation in the background, but you know, it was nice to know that this is from somebody who understands how video games work and, you know, the culture of them. And like I said, the film is very faithful, but that does bring me to kind of the negatives of the film. Like I said, the weaponry. We know from the 2013 video game that she is very skilled with a bow and arrow. I really like how they bring that into this film because that's very faithful. But there are scenes in this film where she is trying to break away from this military group that is keeping her and her friend hostage. And during their escape, weapons are being dropped on the ground, and she doesn't bother to grab like a machine gun or a handgun or anything like that. She chooses to stick with the bow and arrow. I understand she's very skilled with the bow and arrow, but I feel as though if I was put in a situation where I was stuck on an island and people were shooting at me, I would grab the machine gun nearby me and I would shoot back. I wouldn't just keep the bow and arrow. I would immediately go for the gun. That's just something that I saw in this film, and I understood why they did it. They wanted to be faithful to the video game, because a lot of people are saying like, oh, these video game movies are not faithful to the video games. I get that, but sometimes you have to bring a little bit of realism into these movies. A movie and a video game are very different, and if you're watching this as an audience member, you're gonna think, okay, she should have probably went for the gun. She shouldn't have just kept a bow and arrow. Now let's talk about this compared to the 2013 game. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie that happens in the game. I really appreciated how they had a lot of that stuff because a lot of fans would have been mad. However, what I really liked about the game is its tone and the amount of characters that were in the game. There's actually a really good supporting cast. Like, it's not just about Lara Croft. It's about the people who is on the ship with her, and when they crash onto this island, she has to find a way to not only survive, but, you know, find her friends and get off this island. There was more at stake. And it was also a very dark game too. Like, there is a point in the game where she is almost sexually assaulted and she has to kill for the first time, and it really affects her emotionally. That was one of the things that I really appreciated about the game, was its dark tone, its realism, and how her character development happens throughout the game and how she becomes the Lara Croft that we know today. And there is a lot of that that occurs in this movie. You see her development and her becoming more of the Lara Croft that we know. But it's just a different tone. This is more of an action film than it is like a character piece. The game is very dark and serious, whereas this is kind of not necessarily generic, but it goes the safe route. I definitely enjoyed it, and I thought it was a really good adaptation. I just prefer the game a little bit more because it's darker, and it feels like there's more at stake. There's more characters that you have to try and save, and if you think about it, when she goes to the island in the movie, there's only one guy with her. It's just her and this Asian guy on the ship, where in the video game you have this major supporting cast, and when you crash on the island in the video game, there was more at stake. You had to save everybody. It wasn't just like this generic plot piece where, oh, I have to find my father. It was like, oh shit, no, we gotta get out of here, guys. I gotta save all of you. And like, we gotta go. Like, people are shooting at us. So I like the video game from a more serious aspect. The movie is fine. It's really good. It's definitely the best video game adaptation so far. I just wish that we would have seen a more serious film. It definitely felt like it was more of an action piece. That's fine. It's still a really good adaptation. I really enjoyed Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft. I think she did an amazing job. She's definitely the best part about this film. She's giving her all, and I love how she did a lot of her own stunts. If you're a fan of Tomb Raider, or just the 2013 video game, you're gonna really enjoy this. I think it's pretty visually faithful, and a lot of the stuff is still there. It adds a lot of stuff, like her trying to find her father, and it adds to her origin story a little bit. I really like that. So yes, guys, that was my review to Tomb Raider. Comment down below what you thought of this movie. Let me know if you've played the games. Like the video, share it, and please subscribe to Pixel Talk if you haven't yet for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and gaming content. Thank you guys so much. I'm Corbin Stuckey, and this is Pixel Talk.